What's going on, guys? So some of you may know the Hall of Fame voting and ballot was just released, and there's going to be a Hall of Fame vote here. I think either at the end of this month or it's the start of the new year, I think is when the Hall of Fame voting begins. And every year there's always a big, thing about the 2013 class. There's a lot of controversy this year over the players that are on it. Mark McGwire, he's been on the ballot a long time. And up until this year, he's been kind of the poster boy for players that have used PEDs and in the Hall of Fame. Now, McGwire retired in '01 at the end of the '01 season because it was, I believe that was Pujols' rookie year. And he got on the ballot, I think, in '06 because you got to be out of the league 4 years before you get on the ballot. And I'm not sure what the percentage of the vote is that he's ever gotten, but I know he's never even come close to actually getting in the Hall of Fame. You're talking about a guy that has over 500 homers, and he was an outstanding player. Now, the reason why this class is so controversial is because it's got Barry Bonds is eligible now. Craig Biggio, I believe, he's eligible this year. Roger Clemens is eligible this year. Curt Schilling is eligible this year. Mike Piazza has been on the ballot, I think, for 2 years now. I'm not sure. But all I know is that Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, those guys should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, people are going to sit here and use the argument of they used steroids and that's why their numbers were as good as they were. You're wrong on this aspect right here. Barry Bonds, before he started even using steroids, and it's never been proven, he's never admitted to it either, he was a Hall of Famer before he even touched any kind of juice or steroids. You can go and look at any of his numbers. And a lot of people say, well, look at his numbers from 2000 on, and, they really inflated. So right now I got up Barry Bonds' numbers. And say that 2001 was the very first time he ever touched the juice, and he hit 73 homers. Before 2001, Barry Bonds had hit 494 homers. He was a career .289 hitter, had a .412 OBP, a .567 slugging percentage, a .979 OPS. He had stolen 471 bases. He had won 8 Gold Gloves, and he had won 3 MVPs already. That right there in itself is Hall of Fame numbers. He finished as the all-time home run king, the all-time walk king, the all-time intentional walk king, third most runs scored ever, third all-time in WAR, 6th all-time in OBP, 6th all-time in slugging, 4th all-time in OPS, 2nd all-time in extra base hits, 4th all-time in total base hits, 4th all-time in RBI, and 2nd all-time in total times on base. Now you look at Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens, I think I was watching something about him and McNamara. Roger Clemens had won a Cy Young 2 years before, I think. A year before he started using the juice, according to Robert, that McNamara guy. And he had won a Cy Young afterwards of 3 years after supposedly he stopped using the juice. Roger Clemens in total, he has 7 Cy Youngs. He has an MVP to his name. He has 354 wins to his name. So you say he started using, a lot of people say he started using it when he first went on the Blue Jays. Before he went on the Blue Jays, he already had 3 Cy Youngs and an MVP to his name. And before he went on the Blue Jays, he was pretty much already had Hall of Fame numbers. He already had 192 wins. His career ERA was .306 with 3 Cy Youngs already. At age 33, he already had a Hall of Fame candidacy built right there. And then Roger Clemens' career accomplishments: he's 3rd all-time in strikeouts, 9th all-time in wins, 16th all-time in innings pitched, 7th all-time in games started, 3rd all-time in WAR, and 10th all-time in ERA plus. So he was a Hall of Famer before steroids. And here's another thing that people don't seem to get. They sit there and say that these are the only sole reason why the reason why these players had such huge numbers. I could take testosterone, I could take HGH, I could take any kind of PEDs. You give me 1 year, and I mean you give me 1 year to work day and night, in and out, and you put me up against a plate against Justin Verlander, David Price, Clayton Kershaw. I guarantee you, I could not put bat on ball against any of those pitchers. None of them. And you give me a year on PEDs, and any kind of human growth hormone, anything. I could not do anything against those pitchers. Why? Because I'm not naturally talented at the game of baseball. These guys were. They had the natural talent. They had the ability. They put the work in to get as good as they were. You're talking about Bonds and Clemens. You're talking about two of the greatest players ever to be on a baseball field. Even minus PED accusations, like I said before the numbers. Mark McGwire, everyone wants to go and discredit this guy. They go, well, Mark McGwire, he was just good because of steroids. A lot of people don't remember this, but guess who has the all-time rookie home run record? Mark McGwire. You look at pictures of Mark McGwire when he first came up in the league, he was a skinny little janky kid. He had 49 home runs in his rookie year. But I thought PEDs made him what he was. But he didn't. I think he said he didn't take any PEDs till like the '91 season, is when he started using it with Kinsenko. But I thought PEDs was the only reason why he was good, even though he hit 49 home runs in his rookie year, and he was a little janky little kid, And another thing, there's already cheaters in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Let me read you a few quotes here. Roger Hornsby said, "I've cheated, or someone on my team has cheated, in almost every game I've been in." He's a Hall of Famer. Whitey Ford. "I didn't begin cheating until late in my career when I needed something to help me survive. I didn't cheat in 1963 when I won 24 games. Well, maybe a little." Earl Weaver, Hall of Famer. "If you know how to cheat, start now." Tommy Lasorda, Hall of Famer. "No, we don't cheat, and even if we did, I'd never tell you." Dick Williams, Hall of Famer. "Anything short of murder is okay." Leo DeRocher, "I don't call that cheating. I call it heads-up baseball. Win it any way you can, as long as you can get away with it." All Hall of Famers openly admitting they've cheated before. There's cheaters in the game. Baseball has had a history of this before, and when those guys were using those performance-enhancing drugs, they weren't illegal. They were not illegal. They did not become illegal to 2003. You could take performance-enhancing drugs even after they were illegal in baseball, and it was a very minor punishment until 2007 when they implemented 50 games first caught, second time caught, you got 100 game, and third time is lifetime banishment. And also, guys such as Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, Mike Schmidt, even Ted Williams. Those guys were all taking, I forget the exact word for it, but they're taking these things called greenies. And what greenies are is they're like speed. And what it did was, to say you were really tired or something, you took these things called greenies, and they would perk you up, and they'd help you focus more. After this, so say like you just got done playing a doubleheader, and you had a day game after the doubleheader. These players would take greenies. And the players have been doing that. They did that until, I think it was 05 or 06 when they finally outlawed these things called greenies. They were perfectly legal. But isn't that taking these pills, giving you a step up in the competitiveness of the game? You're taking a step up. You're enhancing your game. You're taking these pills, and you're not doing it clean because you're on speed. You're not out there sober. And these are Hall of Famers that have taken this stuff. And it was legal in baseball. But they're in the Hall of Fame. Mind you, they're some of the greatest players of all time. But don't these people sit here and these Hall of Fame writers act like these are the first people ever that have ever done anything in the game of baseball that is not clean. When, like I said, the drugs they were taking was not illegal until 2003. And you got already people in the Hall of Fame that have openly admitted to cheating. Gaylord Perry should be in the Hall of Fame. He threw spitballs. That's giving him competitive advantage over everyone else on the field. That's cheating. Scuffing the ball, that's cheating. But those guys in the Hall of Fame, it wasn't a big deal. It's baseball. That's what you get with that. It's just part of baseball. Yeah, it is. No, I don't sit here and I'm not saying, man, everyone should take performance-enhancing drugs. No. I wish they would completely run out of the game. I really would. Because you get guys that get caught like Melky Cabrera, and it puts another black eye on the game of baseball's face. Because nothing in baseball anymore is legitimate. You got to question every single person that has an out-of-the-ordinary season. Some guy hits more than 40 homers. You got to suspect PEDs nowadays because you don't know who's clean and who's out there running juiced up. And it's pathetic, and it's pathetic to the sport, and it puts a black eye on the sport every time someone gets caught. And a lot of people have been getting caught lately, too, for all this this testosterone. And it's not good for the game of baseball. But don't sit and act like baseball is full of a bunch of choir boys since the Hall of Fame has been implemented, and everyone in there was some clean, straight-cut guy that was the best of the best, and they used nothing to get ahead of the competition. Guys were using cork bats. Like I said, players were using greenies, and they didn't get banned until the mid-2000s. You know, a drug that, you know, like I said, was like a form of speed. You know, and just to say, because these guys, because of when it happened and the numbers they compiled, and when they were, like I said, when they're using the drugs were not illegal, and saying these guys should not be in the Hall of Fame because of that is wrong, and it's BS, because there's plenty of cheaters already in the Hall of Fame, but you're just singling out these guys because of their numbers they compiled. And you're just going to blame it on PEDs when they had the natural talent the whole time, and they did it legit. Well, they didn't do it legit, but they did it because they were great players. But they, you know, if they did use PEDs, you still have to have the natural talent to do what they did. So stop acting, you know, these Hall of Fame writers need to stop acting like everyone in the Hall of Fame is a choir boy and no one's ever done anything to get a competitive edge over any other person. So, that's all I got to say. Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, are they going to get in the first ballot? Hell no. Sammy Sosa's on the ballot too. I forgot about him. Hell no, they're not getting on the first ballot. I think they get 30% of the vote first time through. I think it's going to be at least 5 years before those guys get on the in the Hall of Fame, because this new batch of Hall of Fame voters are dead set against, or the current batch of Hall of Fame voters are dead set against voting. There's a guy that hasn't covered baseball since 1987. To get a Hall of Fame vote, you have to be a writer in the Baseball Writers Association for 10 years. You have to hold a card in there, then you get a Hall of Fame vote. There's a guy that was in the Baseball Writers Association for 10 years, but hasn't been writing about baseball since 1987. And on Twitter, he's openly admitted the only reason why he's holding his Hall of Fame card is because he wants to snub Bonds and Clemens, just because he does not want to vote them in. But I think they will get in eventually, and I think they deserve to be in. Because they were naturally gifted players. You know, they made some bad mistakes, but everyone has in baseball used some kind of competitive edge to get an edge on someone else. And there's already cheaters in the Hall of Fame, and it's not some group of honest, diligent people that were the highest of highs, and they did absolutely nothing. There's cheaters already in there, and Bonds and Clemens should be in. That's all I got to say.